The Moonlight Ramble was created to explore the human side of the music industry from an Appalachian perspective. On today's episode, I got on Zoom for a call with Bronwyn Keith-Hynes. She's a dynamic and multi-award-winning fiddle player. She won a Grammy with her work with Molly Tuttle and the Golden Highway. In 2024, she released her second album, which was also Grammy nominated. She's won multiple awards with the IBMA. We discussed her preparation for her second album, but her first vocal album, I Built a World, balancing touring and her health, and her experience as a young musician. Take a listen.
I built a world for me today. It's the first thing I've done for myself, 'cause I don't know when. I built a world for me today. It's a house on a field in the wild, and it holds me all in. I built a world for me today. No one can blame me or tell me what they think is right. I built a world for me today. It's out amongst the trees, and the breeze keeps me cool through the night. So don't build me a home in Montana, 'cause I don't need it. Don't promise me castles and frames, 'cause I won't believe it. A kingdom is here in the wild, with the heart of a wandering child.
My name's Bethany. Thank you for meeting with me.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Yeah. Did you all get any snow or anything from the winter storm?
We did. We've just got a dusting, and it's still kind of coming down. The roofs are covered. It's really pretty. You
Yeah.
guys got some too?
Yeah, we got close to 6 inches. I started this podcast last year and I live in Lexington, but I'm back home in Ashland, Kentucky. So back here we got about 6 inches.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there's so much to congratulate you on. Last year, or I guess 2023, winning a Grammy with your work with Molly Tuttle and the Golden Highway, and then your second album, but your first singing album, getting nominated for a Grammy. You got married, you sang at the Opry for the first time. So there's so much to commemorate you on. You've won multiple awards from the IBMA. So like, where do you go from here?
I
Like,
don't know. I'm
what's
just
next?
You're right. I've been trying to think about that. Well, so I'm actually taking this month and most of next month kind of like off the road, and I'm staying home and trying to like sort of trying to write a new album and trying to sort of like center myself, take care of my health, reconnect with my community, and kind of gear up for the next year, because I know like 2025 is going to be just as crazy, if not more crazy. We'll still be on the road some with Molly Tuttle in Golden Highway, but I'm also going to be doing a lot more of my own solo shows in the gaps that I have. So I'm just kind of like looking ahead, being like, all right, if you thought last year was crazy,
Yeah.
to realize this could be doubly crazy. But I'm excited for it and I'm ready for it. I haven't always like had the confidence to like want to pursue a solo career, but I feel like in the last couple years, I don't know, just the more I dip my toe into doing stuff under my own name, it's just so much fun that I can't stop.
Then let's talk a little bit about the second album you put out, I Built a World, and this is the first time that you've sang solo. Technically, what kind of preparation went into that?
Well, I guess I started kind of really working on singing for reals, like in 2020 when I had to get off the road. Nobody was touring then, and I sort of had all this downtime, and I was like, well, what have I always wanted to do, and didn't really ever feel like I had time. Like for so long, I was focused on my fiddling and getting that to a level I felt was like good, and you know, but yeah, so I guess I started working pretty hard on my singing about 5 years ago, and then when I was gearing up to make this record, um, let's see, just I mean, kind of trying to find songs was a a big part of it. I didn't write any of the songs on that album. I felt like singing was already enough of a new thing that I didn't also want to add like songwriting into the mix, which I also hadn't really done much of. Sort of felt like, somebody trying to learn fiddle and write fiddle tunes, and it's like,
Hmm.
well, maybe just like stick to one new thing at a time.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah, so it's like digging around trying to find songs, and I was still taking like some voice lessons here or there, just trying to like iron out different things. And but I feel like I learned more actually in the process of like making the record, possibly than I learned before about my voice. There's
Hmm.
seems like there's nothing like just diving in and doing the thing, and then you just figure it out as you go along.
Hmm. When you were sourcing your songs, like what do you look for and what were you looking for in the song? Was there a certain theme or feel that you were looking for, or are they just songs that you like?
Just something I connected with, like,
Mhm.
and it's yeah, there wasn't exactly a theme. It seemed like eventually there ended up being a lot of love songs or songs about relationships and stuff. But that kind of, I don't know if that was subconscious finding those or not, but yeah, just something I connected with, and I don't know if I can put my finger on what that is, because sometimes
Hmm.
it's melody, sometimes it's the words,
Hmm.
sometimes it's just everything. But I know it when I hear it, and it's kind of, and I feel like my husband Jason is kind of the same way, and we like the same kinds of songs. So I know if I like a song, he's gonna like it, and vice versa. So he had a couple song suggestions for the record, which was perfect. And yeah.
That's great. Um, I wanted to shout out to a couple of the Kentucky players that you had on your album, Sam Bush, but also Brett Taylor,
Oh,
um, you had on your album. And then was Jason on this album or yeah,
yeah, he's playing on the title track, I Built
yeah.
a World. And
Okay.
actually, the title track was written by a Kentucky person as well, a songwriter named Matthew Parsons.
Oh wow. Oh
And
great.
I heard that song on the radio driving through Kentucky randomly on my way to a pool party in 2021. I was like scanning channels, and I heard his band doing it live, like on the radio somewhere, and I was just like, the song stuck out to me so much that I like remembered enough lyrics, I guess, to like Google it later, and somehow found him, and I emailed him out of the blue, later, and was like, "Would you mind if I recorded this?" And he was like, "How did you find this song?" Because he never recorded it, so he's like, "How do you know about this
Oh,
song?"
that's cool.
I
Yeah.
wrote like years ago, but yeah, he was nice enough to let me record it.
That's a cool connection.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard you in other interviews talk a little bit about your um, fiddle playing when you started playing with Molly Tuttle and the Golden Highway. Um, I wanted to ask how that has affected you, like your stage presence is what I'm thinking of you seeing like people rocking out and then like how that influenced you as a fiddle player.
Yeah, definitely. I think being in Golden Highway definitely um like sort of unlocked something in me and encouraged me to express myself a lot more like physically on stage and emotionally, and kind of like step out of my comfort zone a little bit, or what had been my comfort zone. And yeah, just like I think just being on stage with all those people, I'm always standing next to Kyle, and Kyle's a banjo player, and Kyle's such a just natural showman, and he's just
Mhm.
always kind of like using his whole body to like emphasize a stop or a hit or something, and it just kind of rubs off. You're like, oh, cool, like you can do that, all right. um Whereas before, I think in other projects I've been in, there just wouldn't be that precedent on stage. Like nobody would be moving around. It would just, so if you were the one person who would be doing that, you'd feel it's just kind of silly or something. But then when everybody's moving around and just like trying to put on the most, the most fun show you can, then you would feel like, you'd feel silly not doing that kind of. So, and now it feels natural, which is cool. And yeah.
Do you feel like I don't know if it's an obligation, but just like based on your experience, everyone that you've been fortunate enough to play with to kind of move forward, progressive bluegrass, or a new genre or anything like that based on your experience, and then you all playing how you play, like, um is it like important to you to like continue? I mean, you're building off traditional elements of that music.
Yeah, I think it's sort of, I mean, I feel like I'm just sort of following my ear and my gut in terms of what I like and what I want to play. But I think it's inevitable that like sort of all this stuff is rubbing off in different ways. Like, I started out playing traditional bluegrass and but now we're playing in situations where I'm playing with musicians or opening for musicians that are, in lots of different genres and getting inspired by that,
Mm-hmm.
getting inspired by jam bands and country music and other stuff. So I don't know. I think it's just kind of, and I really do feel like the lines are sort of blurring these days in terms
Mm-hmm.
of what you're allowed to do as
Mm-hmm.
a whatever, as a bluegrass musician or whatever. It's almost like nobody cares anymore as long as you're making good music and
Exactly.
being
Mm-hmm.
authentic. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I feel that too. And I think, I don't know, there's been a lot of great conversations and dialogue about music and like blurring those lines and not really being boxed into a specific genre, especially with all the collaborations that are going on, and just the variety of country and progressive bluegrass that's happening. So it's interesting. I really enjoy that conversation. I love even just thinking about Sam Bush and some of those early videos, watching him play reggae music and people being like, what's going on, or we don't like that, or and you think about like Bob Dylan or any other person that went outside the boundaries. It's cool to see.
Yeah, like Newgrass Revival, I feel like was one of the first bands to really, well, I don't know. The Osborne brothers were pushing boundaries before them. So I
Mhm.
think it's just always been a thing, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's easy. It seems like it's easy once a sound, maybe harder in jam bands or maybe, but it seems like once a sound becomes popular, then all these other people come out wanting to sound like that one popular band or trend. But I think
Right.
that's how, like, how do you really stay authentic to your sound, what you're talking about, what you like and how you like to play, when it, like, all that blend, it starts to blend, I feel like, after a while. How do you stay your unique self or your unique style in that process?
Well, I mean, one thing I feel like is, that saying like, what is it? Style is based on limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I honestly, I feel like that's if I could sing other ways, if I was more virtuosic in my singing or even in my, I don't know, I would be doing different things, but I'm also trying to be conscious of what I can do and what works, for me right now and what's sounding good. And so, I think it is a little bit based on like, well, what can you do and what can you do well? And I am always trying to push myself and like try to improve what I can do and, but I think it is based on like what works for each person,
Mm-hmm.
but at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
I like, and then what I like versus what can I do. Then somewhere in the middle there is what what my sound is right now.
Mm-hmm. You seem pretty goal oriented. Are you like that? Like, you meet a goal. Is there something like, what goals do you have that you haven't met yet, since you've met, it seems like, pretty dreamy type goals this last couple of years?
Yeah, I feel like I'm always, I don't know, like I don't want to say I'm never satisfied, but like, once something happens, then and like like things have happened in this past year that I would have like would be lifetime goals for me and have been. And like, I've never won a Grammy before. Like that is amazing. And I would have hoped that maybe someday I would have done it. And then it was really weird the next week being like, wait, that just happened. Like, but I feel like, I don't know. I was asking my mom, or my mom has gotten really into archetypes recently, and then I had this interview where someone asked me, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Oh God." And I told my mom about that afterwards, and she's like, "Well, your archetype is a seeker, obviously. So like just,
Mm-hmm.
go back and tell them that." And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." And I read about that and I was like, "Well, that does feel pretty on point. Like I'm always I'm happiest when I'm seeking something and like trying to achieve something and not like
Mm-hmm.
once it's been achieved." So yeah, goals, I guess my next goal is songwriting. That's sort of the next thing I've gotten really excited about and interested in, and I would like to write this next album and
Mm-hmm.
have more of my own voice and my own experiences be like on it. And I feel like that would be the best way to like continue to express myself, share myself, blah blah blah. 'Cause I think one thing I like struggled with a little bit on the last album was finding songs that I related to. It's like I liked the melody, but then the words, I was like, well, I don't really want to sing about this, and I wish there were songs. I had certain ideas of songs I wanted to find, but I couldn't find them. I was like, well, I should probably like write these.
Mm-hmm. Do you, was it difficult for you? Like, do you think in melody, I think like if as a fiddle player, you might be more instrumentally sound like, do you think in melody? So I'm curious, it would be more difficult to like find the words if
Mhm.
you're like you not even used to instrumental, but since you've
Yeah,
been playing since you were so young, it seems natural that that's how you would think.
yeah, totally. The words are definitely like the harder part for me, the part I'm slower at. Yeah, like melodies and chord progressions and stuff are the thing usually like where I start, and then I go for words. Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
Have you been given any is there any advice that sticks out to you for songwriting that someone has given to you in this
I mean,
journey?
it seems like everyone I talk to, like just doing it regularly, doing it every day seems to be like one thing I just can consistently hear from people, and I'm been struggling a little bit with time management to try to make that happen, but I really want to just carve out some amount of time every day, and it's like, duh, like that's not a surprise. Like that's what I've done with fiddling. It's like for years it was non-negotiable that I had at least an hour to work on the fiddle every single day, and usually a lot more than that. So it's like, I feel like I shouldn't be surprised about people being like, yeah, I do this every single day. This is, that's why I'm good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, you talked a little bit about mental health and just preparing for the upcoming year. What's what's something you do for yourself, like self-love, something where you focus on yourself to kind of ground you?
Yeah. Gosh, I feel like going on walks is sort of the biggest thing I like to do and the thing I can kind of do anywhere. Yeah, I love going on walks. I go on one almost every day, and at least it kills I get some amount of exercise and I get like natural light and stuff. And I feel like
Hmm.
that's really helpful too, because like being on a sort of like a nighttime schedule, especially when you're on tour, your schedule can almost get backwards. You can become like a night shift worker, which is, I know
Mm.
it's not good for anybody long term. So I try to like balance that out when I'm home by trying to get up a little earlier, trying to, see the sun and have my brain, sync up a little bit with like nature.
Hmm.
Yeah, and trying to eat well, trying to cook and because like eating out all the time, I just feel like it's just never that healthy unless you're really spending a ton of money. But
Yeah.
people are
Hmm.
always using weird oils or there's sugar in a lot of stuff, and I don't know. So just trying to eat a lot simpler at home.
What's a way that you help balance, like you're a touring musician, your husband's a touring musician, like how do you balance that?
Man, we're still trying to figure that out. I
Mm.
mean, like in one way, our schedules are almost more compatible than like someone who is working a 9 to 5, because at least we're usually both home on the early parts of the week, Monday through
Mm.
Wednesday or something, and then often both gone the later parts. But but there's also been times like this past year where it completely didn't line up, and he would have 3 weeks off, and I would be leaving that day for a 3 week tour or something, which was frustrating. And you would think we would be like meeting up at festivals a little bit more, us both playing for like bluegrass artists, but we, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, we only crossed paths at festivals like I swear like twice last year or
Oh,
something.
wow.
Yeah. It's just different, different days or just different types of festivals that we were both doing. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but just try to be supportive and understanding, because like at least we totally like get what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you get like ear fatigue and don't listen to as much music on your downtime, but I was curious if there's any musicians or songs right now that you have on repeat or
Ooh, gosh, yeah, what have I been listening to recently? Well, I've been listening to this one Grateful Dead song, so I've been trying to learn it. It's called Me and My Uncle, and it's sort of like this, uh, it's like this minor, like, Wild West kind of story song about like this dude and his uncle who go out and meet some cowboys and get in a card game and steal their gold and yeah, I don't know. It's cool. So I've been listening to that a bunch. Yeah, what have I been listening to? I feel like I just get really obsessed with like one album and probably listen to it too much, and then
Mhm.
I should like be listening to more kinds of music. I really love this guy Joshua Headley has this album called Neon Blue, and it's a modern album. It came out a couple years ago, but it has like pretty strong like 90s country flavor, but it's like all original music that he wrote, and
Mhm.
I just think it's awesome. So that's always kind of my like feel good album right now that I put on if I need like to like get pumped up or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you
Uh,
have any pre or post show rituals?
hmm. Not exactly. Sometimes, like in an ideal world, I would like meditate before the show, and we were doing that sometimes on the road with Golden Highway this past year, and I always felt like I had a better show if I was able to meditate before. Some people just said they felt really tired during the show and they hated it, but yeah, I mean, if I can like kind of do something that's like really calming, or even if it's just like if I'm ever feeling stressed going on to a show or like I'm gonna be nervous or something, trying to like slow everything down, slow down my even like my motion, my physical motions, my breathing, everything kind of like I think just like takes that like stress response down a little bit and
Mhm.
help. I don't really have any rituals post show. I think I feel like it's like every night is different, so you're just
Mhm.
kind of trying to survive. Usually find food.
Yeah.
Always trying to find food. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite venue that you've played at?
Ooh, gosh. Oh man, there's so many good
I'm
ones.
sure. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like of one that stood out. Um, I mean, Red Rocks is super cool. I've loved playing there.
Have you
And
seen a show there or have it just played
no,
there?
I've never seen a show there. That's silly. I should go to a show there. No, I've only seen it from that perspective. Well, we've opened for people, so I've gotten to see the show the other direction
Hmm.
as, watching their show after. Um, there's some festivals that I really love playing, like Telluride,
Hmm.
Colorado is awesome. It's just like I feel like the artists get the best view on that one.
Oh
Like you're
yeah.
looking out over those mountains and
Hmm.
it's kind of almost distracting. It's so beautiful and like
Hmm.
yeah. I don't know. I think some of those festivals is might be my favorite. We also played Strings and Soul this past year, which is that festival down in Mexico on the beach. And that was
Oh
also
yeah. Do the infamous string dusters, is that one that they always do? Yeah.
yeah, so it's like we played right at sunset, the sun's going
Ah.
down, everyone's dancing right on the beach, and it's just like
Did you like that? Was that the first destination festival?
we did one other like Mexico Beach festival like early on. I think it was just me, Shelby, and Molly. We were opening for Dave Matthews, and it was sort of similar vibe. I love those things. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
on vacation. It's like
Yeah. Do
why
you actually get time to enjoy? Do you like take a couple days where you can enjoy it?
yeah, usually I like can't help myself. Like go a couple days earlier. This year we stayed late and like booked an Airbnb in town
Oh,
at like
nice.
down by, and yeah, it's just like, well, you're already down there, might as well.
I think that'd be hard sometimes, just quickly going through town. Like you've been to towns, but you haven't seen like the energy or the personality of those towns because you're just so quick onto the next spot.
It was even harder when we were touring in a van. Like this past year, we were in a bus, and so like the bus drives overnight in theory, and then
Mm.
you have a lot of the day to do something. But when we were in a van, like the year before, it was so tough, and I still have this like very sad image in my mind of it. We were in Oregon, and we passed Crater Lake,
Mm.
gorgeous, like bright blue lake, and I just remember looking at it and just being like, "What is that? Like, I want to go there." And it's like, no, 3 more hours in the car, like. I was just like looking at it on Google Maps, being like, I'm putting a pin in this. Like, I have to come back someday.
Yeah, I've seen pictures and videos on Instagram. I've never been, but I have folders for each state. I hike a lot. So when I travel, I'm like, where's the waterfall? Where's
Oh, yeah.
the hike I can go to?
Yeah, I
That's
always
on
want
the
the
list.
water feature.
Yeah. Do you feel like how has growing up in Charlottesville like influenced you as a musician and a person? Is it it's a beautiful area. I love Virginia. It's so pretty, like all throughout the state is just beautiful, but Charlottesville is such a pretty town. How did that influence or how do you see that that influenced you?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that influenced me growing up in Charlottesville, you know, they have that downtown walking mall.
Hmm.
Well, I would like busk there like multiple
Mm.
times. Like I was homeschooled, so sort of my schedule was kind of flexible, and that was kind of something I did. I think my parents kind of encouraged me to do it as a performance thing, just like something to do for fun. But it also ended up like I would pay for my fiddle lessons, I would pay for my fiddle camps and stuff. So I'd actually make a lot of money, especially when I was like very little and cute, you know.
Hmm.
But so I feel like, doing that like a couple days a week, or not like for the whole day, but like a couple hours, a couple days a week was definitely like a way that sort of I would get comfortable playing in front of people and like learning some, showmanship stuff. You learn how to make eye contact with people and smile and not be bashful, and you'd learn people would give you money if you're looking a little bit more lively, it's like a direct feedback of like, what does an audience like? Okay.
Hmm.
So that was kind of a cool thing. And that was, I don't know, I was in Charlottesville recently and I didn't see any buskers, but maybe, I don't know if people are still busking as much, but back then there was a lot of buskers. So it was kind of a fun scene.
Hmm. Is
Yeah.
were you still living in Charlottesville before you moved to Nashville?
No, so I went straight from Charlottesville up to Boston. I went to college
Went
at
to
Berkeley.
school. Hmm.
Yeah, and then I like lived there total about 9 years before I moved to
Oh,
Nashville. Yeah, but we came back to Charlottesville recently. Golden Highway played at the Jefferson, and
mm,
it's kind of fun because that was like one of my spots. I used to busk outside. I had this like next
hmm.
thing, and so I got to like tell the whole crowd. It's like, yeah, I used to busk outside here, and
That's
now we're playing a
cool.
sold out show, and it feels
That's
pretty.
awesome.
Yeah,
Full circle.
yeah, yeah. It's got a great music community.
Hmm. Do you have siblings?
I do, yeah. I've got a younger brother. He's like 18 months younger than me, and he lives out in Southern California. We're both like, kind of grew up pretty creative kids, and went towards dance. So he's like a
Mm.
West Coast swing dancer. He
Oh, wow.
travels this whole like dance competition circuit, sort of like the bluegrass festival circuit.
Hmm.
Does all these things. He goes over to Europe and does it, and he's really good.
Yeah, that's wild. Are your parents musical as well and
They're
creative?
not. They're
Oh.
not. My dad says he, played clarinet in high school, and my mom said she would take piano lessons as a kid, but she would bring ice cream and bribe her teacher into just eating the ice cream instead of doing the lesson. But they're always been very supportive. They're not like, I hear kind of sad stories sometimes about musician friends whose parents haven't always been supportive and always told
Hmm.
them needed another kind of job to be
Hmm.
successful or whatever. But my parents were always just like, if you like it and you're going to put in work on it, you can make a living doing pretty much whatever you want to do.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. Just that support system. It is very sad to hear people who have family members saying get a real job or whatever people
right, because it's
say.
like usually they end up doing music anyways, but it just maybe takes them a little longer to like overcome that sort of
Hmm.
discouragement. Just
Hmm.
being a musician is not easy anyway, so it's like, yeah, that's not helpful.
Well, what would you say has been your like a big struggle that you've had over the years, from just being a musician or touring? Is there anything that you've overcome that was difficult?
Well, I mean, honestly, there's just been a couple things. Like, first of all, just like self-confidence and like,
Mm,
be like overcoming sort of like imposter syndrome, especially coming to bluegrass a little late. Like, I grew up playing Irish music and
mhm.
got into bluegrass in college. So that felt like a sort of a major struggle to like learn bluegrass at that age and try to get my bluegrass chops up to like a professional level. And then touring is just hard, especially at the lower levels. I used to have a band that I was a part of, and we toured for about 7 years, really hard in like a minivan and
Mm,
just kind of like crashing on people's couches. And
mhm.
I remember one tour in Ireland, we like somehow we had this diesel van, and somebody accidentally put gas in the diesel van,
Oh
and
no.
that kills it. So once it like died, and then we like didn't have enough money to like rent another car, so we would have to like beg rides from like at the end of each show. Our tour manager would be like, the band needs a ride up to Kilkenny. Like, I
Oh
know
my
you were
goodness.
going that way. We just like have to like ride with just this random stranger hours after the show, which was just like exhausting and kind of embarrassing. So just like hard touring situations, or touring situations where you're on like the floor and you've like pulled the couch cushions off to go on the floor. And I remember there was one
Hmm.
place where they had a dog, and the dog's fingernails it was just like walking circles around me all night, and its fingernails were like clacking on the floor, and I was just like, what am I doing? Like, this is horrible.
It's not so romantic.
No, it's like it can be really awful. So, but like I guess just being able to still I'm glad I was able to keep a vision of like,
Focus.
not gonna be like this forever. I have a goal of what I want it to be.
Hmm.
I think it could be like another way someday, so I'm gonna not give up here.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Do you have any like great memorable stories from Berkeley that you want to share?
That my like sweetest memories are like there's these big houses in Boston. Everyone lives in these big houses where there's like people are renting like 5 to 6 bedrooms, and they're like 3-story massive houses. And there are a couple music houses that were full of bluegrass musicians, and
Mm,
we have these parties every weekend, and literally every single room, every bedroom, every like living room and kitchen would all have a different jam, and the jams would be all different styles of music, or like of folk music. So there'd be like
hmm.
old time jam, a bluegrass jam, a Celtic jam, a swing jam, a klezmer jam, whatever. Like,
Hmm.
just, and I just remember they were so much fun and so inspiring. And you just kind of walk around and be like, what do I feel like? What do I feel like jamming on
Yeah,
tonight?
that's
And kind of
amazing.
go between the different rooms. And
Hmm.
so those were really, really good memories.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a cool environment. I mean, Berkeley obviously is so well known, and just the people who come from there, just the collaborations that go on, or the timing of meeting people that you go on to play with. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how many people, like all of my Golden Highway bandmates, except for Shelby, were there. And
Mhm.
yeah, so many people that I know now were at Berkeley at the time. So I don't even think we realized how long we
Special.
were all to know each other and how special it was. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, it looks like we have 3 minutes
Oh yeah,
left. So I want to thank you again for meeting with me. I wish you the best of luck. I'm super excited for you and to see what's coming up. I think I'll get to see you when you come to the Southgate
oh, that'd be,
House in Northern Kentucky.
and thank you
Okay.
for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good rest of the day, and Happy New Year.
You too. Enjoy the snow.
Okay, yeah, you too. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the Moonlight Ramble. You can find Bronwyn on Mondays at Dee's Lounge in Nashville. She'll also be touring with Molly Tuttle and the Golden Highway, and she'll be doing a solo tour from February through April. Go check her out on your favorite social media platform. Support your local musician and venue, and have a nice week.